Today I'm going to be rough forging the two last pieces that I need before I can start assembling this latch. And that is the actual latch bar that's going to be keeping the door closed and the spring that's going to keep the latch bar and the handles in position. I'm going to start by making the spring, and I'm going to be forging it out of some 3/8 round spring steel. The spring is going to be located on the left-hand side of the interior back plate. It's going to have a flat section that's going to guide the latch bar, and then the spring is going to turn around 90 degrees and push on the latch bar right near the pivot point. I'm just going to forge this spring oversized, and I'm going to trim off what I don't need. When I'm doing a shape like this, I like to forge the round bar into the overall shape of the piece and then flatten it down to the dimension that I need. That's a lot easier than starting from a flat bar and trying to make that 90-degree bend at the top of the spring. Here I'm just measuring the spring on the back plate. I know that if it's covering over half of the back plate, I'm going to have plenty of length when I flatten it out to the final dimension. And as always, I do most of the upsetting at the vise. The larger ball peen hammer here is just being used to keep the top bar straight. If you can keep the two bars at roughly 90 degrees, your hammering is going to be a lot more effective and you'll produce that square corner a lot faster. This leg is long enough I can just hold on to it and keep it straight, but the short bar I need something to back it up to keep it from curling over. I don't need to spend a lot of time on that square corner because I'm going to be grinding away a lot of it anyway. So once I'm satisfied that I have enough material, I'll go ahead and start flattening the spring. Here you can see I've cross-peened the spring to get the length that I needed, but I left the square corner fairly thick, and that's because I need that part to go in a different direction. Here I'm using the rounded corner of the anvil to get a nice transition from the square corner to the actual spring. And once again, springs need to be perfectly flat. There can't be any dings or sharp edges or anything that would create a weak spot and cause the spring to fail. So I'm taking my time and hammering out as many imperfections as I can. That'll just speed up the grinding process later. Now I'm using the rounded corner of the anvil to fuller the spring widthwise. I need this section of the spring to be quite a bit wider than the rest of the spring because it's going to be attached to the back plate. So I need to file out a tenon out of this part of the spring so I can anchor the spring to the back plate. And at that point I just forge the rest of the spring flat. Again, I'm making it a lot longer than I need. I'll just trim off what I don't need later. Here I'm bending the spring to its final shape, but I will be accenting that bend with a square corner. I want it to have a nice crisp edge there. And then I'll take one final heat to just clean everything up and straighten it out as much as I can. I'm not going to be tempering the spring right now. I need to have it as soft as possible to do the final fitting and filing and grinding that I need to do to get it ready to fit to the back plate. After all that, I'll be tempering it just before I'm ready to assemble it to the latch. The latch bar is pretty basic forging. Here I'm fullering out a section of bar that I'm going to be using for the button to hold the pivot pin. I'm forging this piece out of a short section of 1/2-inch square bar. Next I'm creating another fuller that's going to leave a short section of the original bar stock. I need this heavier section so that the spring has something to push up against. The rest of the bar is just going to be flattened out. Once again, I'm just measuring the piece off the back plate. I'm going to leave it long and trim off what I don't need, the same way I did with the spring. So here's roughly how the whole thing goes together, minus the handles. Hi, I'm Dennis and thanks for watching. If you like this video, by all means give it a thumbs up. If you want to support this channel, you have a couple of options to do that. The first, of course, is to just subscribe. Secondly, if you have any suggestions or photographs of things you'd like to see on this channel, send them along and I'll do my best to turn them into a video. If you want to lend your financial support, you can do that in a couple of ways. First, if you're interested in making an ongoing contribution to this channel, just click the Patreon icon and it'll take you to my Patreon page and you can donate whatever amount you feel comfortable with. If you want to make a one-time contribution, just go to my channel homepage and click the donate button in the banner. So thank you for your support, and with your help I'll be doing this for some time to come. I'll see you next time.